Welcome to the Scratch Your Own Itch podcast, the show about the things we think about but don't ever talk about. My name's Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. These conversations are about creating a life worth living, with a focus on sharing stories about battles in our heads. Topics range from depression, addiction, self-doubt, past traumas, and everyday compulsive thinking. And my hope is that this show will just shed some light on anyone in the dark that feels like they're alone in their daily struggles. Please take note that this show is not meant to be a replacement for professional diagnosis or professional therapy. I am not a counselor or a therapist. Hey, so here's another edition of the Scratch Your Own Itch mini-sode. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please just click that subscribe button. Oh yeah, and if you want to leave a review, that would be freaking awesome. Like, that'd be the bee's knees. If bees did have knees, that would be really, really, really amazing. And if you find this inspirational or at all helpful and feeling a little less alone, please share. So I want to talk about planning and how it's the very seed of anxiety and how to try to get rid of it. But I want to let you know that if you've ever thought about taking action and like making a new move in your life, well, you're not alone. If you feel alone, you want to feel less alone, well, you can also join my Facebook group, Scratching Your Own Itch. I'll include it in the show notes. It's about creating a life worth living. And the thing is, I know it's weird to think about action, to think about something over and over and over and not actually do anything. So I thought about my beliefs and what they mean to someone's sanity, and especially a person with anxiety that also really, really badly wants to create something in their life that they love, maybe a business. The thing is, though, your beliefs, values, psychological rules are all built upon this principle, right? The decisions you make, the actions you take, and the habits you indulge in are all based upon this principle. In fact, every part of your psyche is influenced in some way by some pain-pleasure principle, right? In fact, every part of your psyche, I'm not joking you when I say every part. You are therefore who you are today, seriously, because of how you've interpreted and acted upon your experience of pain and pleasure in the life that you have now. And as well as the actions always being a decision, right? I've been seriously struggling with action. Like, no joke. I keep wanting to, start this new project, but the thing is I'm human, and I need to focus. And I think the only people that actually create anything incredible are the people that have an idea and follow through with it. Even if the idea is not perfect, but they perfect it along the way. Right? Well, I hope so. Because I really believe wholeheartedly that depression And feeling down stems from not being able to act upon something that you can see in your mind's eye, but it's not becoming a reality. So you need to focus. Follow one course until success. So, a current pain in my life, though, is action. The economist and author Average is Over, Tyler Cohen, says, the more information that's out there, the greater the returns to just being willing to sit down and apply yourself. Information, though, isn't scarce. It's the willing to do something and execute it. Action is not easy for everyone. Our society promotes learning. People are rewarded for going to college, entering a trade school, or giving up their dreams of becoming a business owner by going back to school. So, I thought to myself, Logan Tyler Nelson, you're like everyone else. And your anxiety doesn't have to be permanent, though. People who are really making dents in the world are taking chances, taking in the pain and feeling the pleasure later. Alright, Robert Greene, this guy who wrote this amazing book called Mastery. He talks about having a tight budget and how the Wright brothers had a really tight budget while they were trying to create a plane. So they were forced to make small, cheap tweaks to each model. And they would make little small investments to make a plane even better because they kept crashing it. But along the way, they would learn from their mistakes, tweak it, and fly it again quickly. They didn't stop after their plane crashed. No, they used the momentum to try again. The Wright brothers had 100 test flights. In time, it took these big corporations to complete a handful. Every test flight taught lessons, but real practical lessons, not a A, B, C, D, or F sort of lesson that you get on a test grade. The return, though, was just failure. And yeah, it was harder to swallow, but the one who failed fastest gathered the most information, which is not really a philosophy for education. The thing is, another person that I really look up to is Ries. He wrote the book called The Lean Startup, and he says, I've come to the conclusion to believe that learning is the essential unit to progress for startups. The effort is not absolutely necessary for learning, though. What customers want can be eliminated, and I call this validated learning, because it is always demonstrated by positive improvements in startups' core metrics. Technology has reached a point where, unfortunately, building is often cheaper than planning, but nobody's actually building. We can build the thing, though, and know the answer before we can plan for all the possibilities and determine how it might work. Ries goes on to write about, the question is not, can this product be built? But, should this product be built? And can we build a sustainable business around this set of products and services, right? So, since my show is called Scratch Your Own Itch, these are questions that you need to stay curious about. These are questions that cannot be answered in the abstract world just by thinking about them. They must be tested in the physical world. And I get it. This is hard to swallow. I get upset with myself. Like I said, anxiety comes on the more you think about your great idea instead of taking action. The key is to make the test cheap, though. Quickly make these cheap tests and improve on each one that you try. So how can you do this in the practical world? Well, plan less. Planning has paralyzed me personally so many times. I thought about making a podcast. I thought about writing a letter to someone that I admire. I thought about making that YouTube channel instead of just trying it out, seeing if it worked, looking stupid along the way. Actually looking, well, like a beginner. But I'd say that the beginner level is actually a little bit better than not doing anything at all. The thing is, the thinking leads you to a deep anxiety. And unfortunately, it led, for me, a depression. I hate that word depression, but it's got to be said. That's the only thing I can label it as. It was depressing to have an idea in my head and not actually put it in reality. I didn't know what career I wanted to dedicate my life until I started doing something. The thing is, I also didn't know what girl I wanted to marry, and so I didn't give that any real chance. I didn't know what fitness plan I was going to try because I wanted to stay out of the gym. Why waste my time, right? No. Wrong. I've realized something, that the universe doesn't give you what you ask for with your thoughts. It gives you what you demand with your actions. This is so, so true. And I'm not going to take credit for this. But this was said by Steve Maraboli. Failing and failing hard on your face is never a waste of time. And this applies to anybody that's thinking about finally doing work in the creative space and loving their work and actually making some money off of it, right? So I believe that the very reason you're anxious right now is because you're not improving yourself in the right way. You need a coach. You need someone to tell you that, hey, you have these skills and these abilities, and you're not using them in the right way. You're doing it for free by giving out free programs for fitness. Or you're giving out free storytelling lessons to your friends. You're giving free advice. So, this is what I call my 5 commandments in order to stop this thinking about taking action. So I will not plan or research until I've taken action, is number 1. I will not make an opinion with new careers and find which ones I hate and which ones I love before I experiment. Experimenting leads to experience. Experience in a career that leads to dollars. Experience to, well, new relationships. Number 2. Number 3, though, I will not let myself love the most perfect girl until I've talked to her, and then potentially create the best relationship I've ever had. Number 4, I will not read anything about fitness until I've worked out that day. And I will not look for another program that's perfect until I at least tried it. Tried that program that's 12 weeks long. Try that program that's 8 weeks long or 2 weeks long. And actually, well, like I said earlier, focus. Follow until, follow one course until success. That's what I meant to say. Number 5, I will not let myself learn about new diets until I fully gave it all my own. So, of course, having in consideration my current healthcare doctor's approval. So these are all things that can add up to the list of action commandments. But for now, this is just what I'd like you to start out with. Small investments. That's what I'm about. Trying it out. 5 commandments. The list could go on and on and on. But the thing is, most of the time planning is procrastination. It's based on theory. It's going to be wrong. Plans are useless without action, right? That's why step 1 is so important. Based on what you know and what we already believe. You've got to improve just a little bit at a time. Then begin forming a plan. See, the fact is, no one tells you this when you're starting a business. They tell you things that you want to hear. Like, you're going to make $100,000 the first year. You're going to make $200,000 the first year. It's a numbers game. And it can be, but the fact is, if you build it, doesn't mean they're going to come. But if you sit back and waste time and don't do anything at all, that's when you are procrastinating. The thing is, action allows for exposure in a good way. Taking action creates possibilities that didn't exist before. We always look out at our future from that place we're standing. But if we forget that this is the only spot, well, that's broken thinking. Okay, imagine this. You're walking in New York City, right? All you can see are skyscrapers, neurotic humans, and taxis. You turn down this next street, and you're looking out the trees of Central Park. A completely new possibility, right? It is because, well, you've been in one world your whole entire life. But let's say you're a little overweight. Then you probably don't see a possible future for being fit, right? But after 3 months of working out and eating well, there's a possible future of physical fitness. Or after 3 months of maybe not being in a city, but being just in nature, you actually see a possibility of getting peace now. Being away from the taxis, getting away from all the skyscrapers and the smug. Which I know is kind of scary to think about, right? Because, well, you've been used to a certain way of doing things. And it sucks, but you're going to have to change. Because there's no certainty. And humans love certainty. But inaction is scarier. The pain of not taking action is hard, actually. And that's what I want to train you. It's right in front of your face. Inaction is attractive, though. To us, because it's slow. We can all see the gears moving when you're taking inaction, when you're just thinking about it. And you're not alone. I do it too, like I said before. But the thing is, we think we're safe if we don't expose ourselves to failure. We don't appreciate the consequences of inaction because they are slow, frequent, and less obvious. And now I can't stop thinking of new things to say. It's always like this, though. I mean, think about it when you go to the gym, right? You don't want to be there. But then the first 15 minutes is hard, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you don't want to leave the gym. Or maybe you don't want to go to a party, and you're thinking in your head, I don't want to go to this party. It's going to be stupid. And then you get to the party, and you end up loving it. You end up not wanting it to end. Or maybe that research paper, back in high school that you did not want to write. And then all of a sudden, 15 minutes into the research paper, you're feeling like dynamite because you finally did it. You finally started doing the research paper. The thing is, motivation and passion will follow you. And the only thing that's going to stop you is, at that point, you. Action it's funny because it's kind of existential if you think about it. I've spent a long time thinking about this, this meaning of life question. I've come up with a lot of clever answers. Some of them even felt really good and sounded super genius. But the truth is, the only one that ever really works is disappointingly simple. Do something about it. The meaning of my life can only be summed up on paper by doing something about it, by actually not writing the bio, but by creating the bio. Philosophy is like communism. Honestly, it is, right? Because philosophy looks great on paper, but when it's put into practice and action, well, it's not really that good. Yeah, it's nice to think that what if we all just got paid the same? But equality is just kind of hard. So what I'm trying to say, though, is abstract ideals, they're nice to think about, right? And wonder about, but it's not life. See, the thing is, I really love David Eagleman. He's this neuroscientist, and he was on impact theory. That's what I meant to say. He was on impact theory with Tom Bilyeu. You gotta check him out. The guy blew my mind. He said that move your finger when the impulse grabs you, right? And he says this in his findings with Incognito, The Secret Lives of the Brain. Long before voluntary movement is enacted, a buildup of neural activity can be measured, and the readiness of potential is larger when subjects judge the time of their urge to move rather than the movement itself. So, to me, this is kind of mind-blowing, right? Because basically, what I'm interpreting as is this, basically what I'm at least reading about is that people make the choice before they were even conscious of it. Here's the thing. Let's take teenagers. Teenagers, they think they know everything, right? Because really they haven't had the chance to really fail. But once they start testing it, they start learning real quick that they're wrong. They are just beginning to learn about theories and possibilities. They haven't done anything, so they feel like they can do anything, which is a strength in a way, but saying you know everything is, well, very unwise. But to say you're wise enough to know that you know nothing, that's useful. Action is so important. It carries the possibility to bring imagination and reality together. But I think the key is consistently trying. See, you're probably listening right now and you're like, all right, I get it. I got to take action. But the thing is, you're not going to. You're not going to take action unless you have to go through unless some hardship, some crazy change has to be made. Scratching your own itch. The reason why you actually change is because you're curious about it. So curious that boredom and being depressed and being lethargic all the time is just something that you can't take anymore. You want to be known. So instead of just thinking about it, just do it. We should recognize that our failures, though, are how we learn and grow. I mean, look at Itis from 300. What did he do? He kept trucking no matter what. And you might be asking now, Logan, how do I actually take action when I don't feel like it? I mean, I'm human. I get tired, right? And I think it comes down to systems. If you train yourself to be emotionally rewarded for actions, taking an action rather than just sitting there becomes addictive. And sucking at things becomes just as addictive too. So which one do you want to be good at? I'd say sucking at things, actually. Not to be trying to be great at everything, but sucking at things. It's a numbers game. The more you suck at things during the day, the better you are. But if you keep trying to get everything right, well, you're just going to hate yourself because you're just continuing to try to get things right. So try a system. I bet you can follow it, and oddly enough, it will lead to success. But don't think about the success. You just start easy. Start small. Small investments win. Eating right versus losing 20 pounds, or building a business versus being financially independent, going on dates versus just having a successful relationship. The thing is, when you set a goal, make it specific. All right, so like for me, I want to do 3 podcasts a week. So I make it happen. Even though they're not going to be perfect, I don't care. Not anymore, at least. When you have that muscle of just not caring, it ends up working in your favor. I'm not saying you should not have courage, because it takes courage to care. But what I am saying is, don't put up so much energy in trying to get everything perfect. The easiest step is just to give yourself a real challenge. Go an entire week or something like that without like consuming everything. Because I think consuming things is going to actually make you worse off. You are going to compare yourself. You're going to compare yourself to everybody else out there. So, like right now, you're listening to this podcast, and guess what? If you want to start your own podcast, you can. If you're really serious about starting a podcast, reach out to me at Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com. I'll help you. I'd love to help you. Or if you want to just create a life that's worth living, don't feel alone anymore. You don't have to do this alone. I promise. Email me at Logan at LoganTylerNelson.com and I'll help you get started. The thing is, I want to just let you know, more than anything else, is that you matter and you're enough. Don't ever forget it. Failing can be progress if you use it right. The wisdom you receive from action often remains invisible, but I promise you that it'll become super visible one day. And judged off of the things that you've already taken action on, which bio do you want to create? Go for sucking, not success. So anyways, I hope all these beliefs and these changes made you really think. And I hope it kind of, I don't know, Googled your mind. Anyways, don't ever forget you matter and you're enough. I can't ever say that enough. A lot of enoughs in there. Alright. I'll talk to you later.